Had a bit of a hiatus from doing videos lately, but leave it to some good old salacious NFL offseason drama to get yours truly back in the game. Just because the whole Mike Vrabel, Diana Russini situation has just been all kinds of crazy and interesting to follow. There's never been a story like this to follow in my lifetime of following sports, and especially in the social media age, it's taken on a whole nother life. With what started off as just a little, interesting photo taken about a month ago, just spiraled just completely out of control into something that no one could have predicted. So at first, when they showed the picture a month ago, the two NFL Patriots coach Mike Vrabel, top NFL reporter Diana Russini, who was working for The Athletic at the time, at the poolside, at the hotel, or wherever they were, it was like, all right, it's kind of interesting. They're going to have to do some explaining to their significant others. But when everything that's come out through TMZ, other reporting, just everything, when it's just one thing after another to show that this was a super deep relationship to where Russini had to resign from The Athletic because obviously her reporting was highly compromised given the situation, whether it shows the picture, the big one that really set things off was when it showed the picture of the two in the bar kissing, to where you knew that, all right, whatever denials y'all did at first were highly dismissive and they really shouldn't have been. And the picture that just came out recently, the one where at first TMZ reports that Vrabel and Russini had rented a boat during a time where Russini was pregnant. And then the video came out a day later, so you got a double dose from TMZ in terms of how they did it. I think when that video surfaced, when I saw it, and just the image of a dude, Vrabel, and a pregnant woman having an affair because both were married at the time, the whole thing just made me go, whoa, this is kind of a gross situation. I think the whole collective world kind of felt that way when you see kind of some of the official radio hosts and stuff like that for Boston sports and other podcasts here and there. Something about seeing those kind of, when you see something in video form, even if you've already heard the report, it's just like, damn, man. And it's just got to be all kinds of embarrassing for those two. It's just the situation has taken on a whole new life. And to where even initially, where some of your broadcast network sports shows on ESPN or FS1 weren't really talking about the story at all because of initially the whole salacious kind of nature, and admittedly a lot of the people on those shows being friends with Russini. But the story has gotten so big that you have to talk about it because it is affecting things on the football team, to where Vrabel had to miss day 3 of the NFL draft. Players are being asked about the situation. It's all kinds of awkward whenever the couple times he's had to do a press conference or when they're just talking about the team in general, to where, after these latest round and how there's something that just comes basically every week. TMZ report, a photo, an image, stuff online that pops up. Every single week, there's just something to make you to show the depths of this relationship between the two, which the whole affair had been going on for at least 6 years. When those photos, after the first pool photos, when they showed the two kissing in the bar in early 2020, which I think a lot of this, the whole moral aspect is something you can definitely judge. It's something you probably shouldn't do, but having an affair isn't something you'll get fired over, unless it's something that's more in the workspace related. Although in the case of Russini, the reason that she resigned, even though she's probably going to get fired, is because it did compromise a lot of her reports that she's done. She does a whole lot. You look back at all the stories she's done for the Titans back when she was the Titans back when Vrabel was coaching for the Titans, and then a lot of the Patriots reports were circling around the A.J. Brown trade. You had to look at all of those reports and say, all right, you clearly had a vested kind of interest here, to where there ain't no shocker that she, again, resigned, but she was going to get fired. For Vrabel, it's a bit different because, the affair that he had isn't something that in theory you should lose your job over. But I think the heat and the embarrassment is just getting so high now, to where I would not be surprised if he did resign. Because it seems, like I said, every week there's something new that drops. There's real speculation in terms of when Diana Russini was pregnant, was that actually his baby, his child? It's leaning to where I'm sure there's going to be news of the paternity test that Russini's husband better be demanding, because given how the child's name is Michael, I know there was a report that came out a day or so ago that Russini named him after her brother. So that could be a way to save face, but still, she had other stuff, like when she tweeted about looking at my newborn son and thinking about the best Mike or Michaels to play or coach in the NFL. I mean, the whole story is just all kinds of fucked up. And like I said, it went to the whole next level when it was the two with Russini pregnant and Vrabel getting there. That was just a really gross situation. And I think the level of heat is getting so high to where I do think it is maybe not quite 50-50, but it's like a 70%, 30% chance that Vrabel is not coaching for week 1, and Josh McDaniels has to take over, just because I think the situation, the heat is getting raised so high. The public embarrassment is about as bad as you can get forget about sports, any kind of public figure, to where sometimes things are just so bad at home that you can't go to work and do your job at the level that you want to do. And there's been reports the last few weeks, or since the draft, or just team meetings, that the guy is not the same kind of personality in the workspace. How can you be? All kinds of public shaming to where you have this one persona, and the level of humiliation and everything is just all kinds of bad. Whether he's actually feeling the humiliation or just when all the stuff he's going through at home, the situation is just all kinds of interesting to deal with. Like I said, I don't think. If I had to guess, will he be coaching week 1? As of now, yes, under the situation. But I do think that the more stuff that comes out, I think, man, I'm really leaning towards he's going to have to resign, because I don't really see an end in sight for the story. It's just going to be one thing after another. The latest thing that dropped, at least I think this was this morning, was a video of Russini and Mike Vrabel. They were on some kind of conference call. It was like a Zoom meeting or something, and Russini was asked a question. They're playing a game, a Family Feud style, like name something you would do when that you close your eyes and do. And she said, have sex with my significant other, husband, spouse, whatever. And Vrabel was on the call. So it was just, I don't know how people are getting these. I guess everyone wants a big payday from TMZ. That's the thing in the modern age, man. There's so many cameras, everything. And with the juice that this story has in terms of the interest from news publications, TMZ, that's why there is something every single week. I think I have it right here. Let me show. I'd have to show it on my phone, but it's all good. Oops.
Will you have sex with your husband or wife?
Again, this is from...
Let me replay it. Hold on.
Okay, Dan, what is something you might close your eyes to do?
Will you have sex with your husband or wife?
Again, this is from Family Feud chance, but yes.
She answered it. Yep. She answered it's done. That's the
It's
one.
done. You have to take the answer. No.
To be honest, I've always thought Russini was a bit annoying with some of her television appearances, whether on ESPN or her appearances here and there on FS1. Not that I'm quite wishing this kind of situation on anyone, to be honest, but I never really liked her on ESPN or whatever. And going back and look at that husband, if that husband doesn't get a divorce, that guy's got no balls whatsoever. Because you go back and look at the clips that have surfaced of all the times she bad talked her husband or alluded to all the fun, in Miami or whatever that she had behind her husband's back. That clip right there, closing her eyes while having sex with your significant other, that woman is clearly all kinds of crazy. And I don't buy it for a minute that she named her son Michael because of her brother. Ain't no way, because this was happening during their whole affair and all that kind of stuff. And just so much gross about the situation. All the files, like when they showed, there was something else where Russini was having an interview with Mike Vrabel, a kind of sit-down interview, and Russini was talking about Vrabel's wife, clearly during the time period where the two were having an affair. So these two kind of deserve everything they're getting. That's just all kinds of embarrassing. And for her losing her job, for Vrabel, I think he's just lost all kinds of respect in that locker room around the Patriots organization. Every time you're going to walk by the guy, it's just like, my goodness. The only thing that's helping him right now is that all this happened during the offseason. There's still a few months away till you really get into the knit and grinds of NFL, getting ready for the season, training camp, all that kind of stuff. So that can help him in terms of maybe there's time for the story to cool down. But to me, the story will not really be over until, one, they just TMZ runs out of all this extra footage they have for people, sending in their photos, trying to get a big payday, which, hell, I wish I had some of that. Getting $20,000 just to have a picture of Mike Vrabel and Diana Russini, that'd be nice right there. Pretty good payday right there. But I also think with all the stuff that continuously gets reported through TMZ or whatever kind of news outlets, it's in Vrabel's probably best interest to just come clean and just to have a real press conference when he goes into the nitty gritty in terms of all the stuff that happened, to where that way you at least can kind of cut off the water in terms of when this stuff does release online. It is what it is. But the biggest thing I think everyone's waiting on now, because Vrabel's been in front of the mics and all that, it's when Russini is gonna speak, because her career is an absolute shambles now. Her days as a NFL reporter, I imagine, have to be done. I mean, how can you trust her with any kind of story, objectivity, after this situation being involved with, and both her and Vrabel both being defiant, kind of deny what was happening at the time, though that obviously didn't work out. Well, obviously she's going to have to work eventually. I think she's in her, I don't know exact age, I would guess in her 40s or something like that. You're going to have to work or do something for a living. And I don't think that can really happen until she has a sit down and talks about what happens. I'd imagine there's going to be a big payday for her in terms of who gets that sit down interview. There's been reports about Good Morning America, 60 Minutes, those kind of high-profile news outlets, which that would be a super interesting sit-down interview to hear once all of that is revealed. And who knows when that might be happening. That it's going to happen sometime this year. It's just a matter of when. So this story has been all kinds of crazy. I guess in the big picture, if I had to lean and say one way or the other, will Vrabel be the coach week 1? I would say yes. For now, but I do think there is a level. It will reach a point where if more and more comes out, I don't think the Patriots will fire him. I think he'll resign just because mentally he can't handle it. And I think probably the biggest thing that would really absolutely push him out, if it's reported that Russini's kid, if that's actually his kid. I think I forgot to mention that. That's the story everyone is really waiting for. The kid named Mike. I think all signs are pointing. Once everyone learned the kid's name was Mike, it's like, I gotta hear the results of that paternity test right now. So this story is all kinds of crazy and with no end in sight. But it's been a fun news story to follow. More so through all the podcasts and radio stuff, because also a lot of the mainstream network shows are too chicken to talk about it. Although, to their credit, ESPN finally talked about it when the draft happened on First Take. And First Things First on FS1 finally addressed it yesterday. So I think the story's gotten so big that, you got to talk about it eventually. So that'll do it for this video on the whole Russini-Vrabel crazy affair scandal. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.